All right, appears to be live. Hopefully this will work. YouTube had a bit of an error, so forth. All right, that's good enough, I think. Close enough. So, leave us continue. So, comments. Pretty long, big, fat comment. So, ought to be worth something in here. Ought to be something to rock. Say, okay, there's a point. But we'll see. Reverse. Whatever that means. It's a little phantasmagorical picture to go with his stuff. So this is just the Borg, and as far as I can see, it's this is the phantasmagorical Borg that doesn't want to let go of their. They like this messy physics because it leaves all kinds of opportunity to rewrite this truth into all kinds of silly stories. But anyway, so your hard evidence. Never said I had hard evidence. I said it twice now. I mean, explicitly. This is the part of physics that's always going to be invisible. That all the evidence is going to be, indirect. None of it can, no videotapes. So all you're going to have is different theories to compare how well they fit the evidence and how simply they do it. And that's exactly the point I made, is that I win the Occam Razor award here, and I would argue that I can win the more consistent award, and that I'm not going to create dark matter things and little gimmicky things. No gimmicks, no shenanigans, no multiverses, no entanglements, no stuff, little stories made up about how that fix the problems. That's a huge difference. So mine will explain what actually physically happens. It doesn't just say, no, there's some sort of thing called space that really isn't space, okay? It's ether or something. And somehow it's being, as it's described by the most professional authorities on the subject, is described essentially as a fluid that's consumed by every little material bit. It's consuming this invisible fluid, okay, constantly, and that everything else is pulled by the drag of the fluid. That's how it's described by the professionals, and we're given nothing. No evidence that this stuff exists, and no explanation for all the other stuff it would cause. Like, how exactly is the fluid connected to the other material things? How does it pull on the atoms? Is it pulling on the electrons? Is it pulling on the protons, the neutrons? What's it pulling on? How does it work? No, we don't have any of that. We don't expect any answers. And the same is true for quantum mechanics. We have entanglement. We have special communications. We have blah, 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 blah. No explanation for how any of this stuff happens. None. I'm giving you an explanation. A material, physical, real process described. They don't have to describe anything. They just say in space. I mean, you're such a hypocrite. So again, there won't be any hard evidence. The hard evidence will be it fits the evidence. That is, it explains this. It explains gravity, magnetism, the nuclear forces. It explains the behavior, explains Maxwell's equations. That's all it has to do, is explain what we see, what we can see, the stuff there is hard evidence for. Really, just amazing. Anyway, okay, continuing. I mean, every sentence is like this. You could just say, again, so your hard evidence is the theory itself. A piece of the evidence is the fact that the theory does unify physics, the thing Einstein spent his whole life looking for. This is obviously something important. If Einstein spent his whole life looking for it, it seems to me that reason to think that's important. And just about everybody did talk about it. I mean, physics did care about unification for most of its history. So most of the 100 years since quantum mechanics, the word unification was sort of important. Anyway, how charming and wonderfully circular. So I'm the one being circular. I'm not inventing dark matter. I'm not inventing ESP between entangled photons or electrons or buckyballs or even human beings, apparently. I'm not the one making these bold claims. They are, and you are. What great science? So great science is what? Let's apply the Lorentz contraction to some effects, time dilation, some effects of the speed of light. We'll apply the Lorentz contraction, but some of them, like the headlighting effect, no, we won't do that. Well, we will probably do it when we need to. But when it gets in our way, like when we're trying to make a light clock in a spaceship, no, there's no Lorentz contraction. It's all proportional. You go half the speed of light, the headlight effect has half the speed of light effect. That is, the light is bent 45 degrees. You're the one with the circular double standards all over the place. The two-slit experiment. A single slit creates two waves by Huygens theory. But if I just put another slit next to it, all of a sudden that single slit only makes one wave. So all I have to do is put a slit next to another slit, and all of a sudden it makes just one wave. That isn't conveniently circular? Conveniently, well, we only need the one wave. We don't need those two waves. They just get in the way. So let's just make a rule that, yeah, it just changes. The whole principle changes. You change one little thing and the whole principle just disappears. That's your theory. That's your what great science. That's great science, right? Oh, there's lensing. Yes, the light is bent. Well, except if a star goes by or some other little thing goes by. No flares, no big. No. We just change the rules. It only bends light that's 4 billion light years away. It doesn't bend any light that's close. We'll change the rule for what lenses do. Lenses do all kinds of weird distortions and perversions. How come none of the galactic lenses are doing that? They're just creating little tiny images of galaxies just where you want to say they exist. Gee, that's not what great science. The Eddington experiment. Einstein proven right. And they've never duplicated the experiment successfully. Even though they had last year the most perfect eclipse that you could possibly have for the purpose. I mean, you couldn't have a more perfect eclipse for the purpose of duplicating the experiment, yet nobody duplicated it. That is with reasonably capable technology. No one. What great science. All right. Quote. It makes sense. Listen to me talk about how it makes sense to me. So he puts that in quotes. Obviously, I didn't say that, so that's not a quote. So it's just a lie, right? So you're just lying now. Okay, liar. What's that? What? That's not enough evidence for you? Question mark. So he puts that in quotes like that was in the video. It wasn't in the video. It's just a lie. Nothing else to say. Liar. Yeah, of course it does. Honestly, quite honestly, it makes a gigantic amount of sense to me. Just huge. That's why I'm advocating. That's why I'm arguing. And the old theory never made any sense to me. It always sounded like religion. This stupid wavy crap. This wave in a non-existent ether. They were all afraid. They're all too pussy to say we believe in ether. Because they clearly believe in it. And they believe in more than one ether. Somehow there's a special magnetic ether, and then there's an electric ether. And now they have 100 other bullshit particles they invented that they say all have their own little ether. There's an electron ether, and a proton ether, a neutron ether, neutrino ether, all different ethers. And what you're saying is, listen to me, they know what they're talking about. They have the truth. They've got it. They've got all kinds of evidence, all kinds of stuff, so they have to be right. And I'm saying, well, show it to me. Give me the link to the video that shows the hard evidence that any of this crap exists. You won't do that. You'll just sit there and keep saying, I know my preachers are right. I know they are. I know Father Doofy Dad is he's not just a child molester. he's sincere and he knows because he talked to Jesus. That's all you're doing. Excuse me while I go talk to any one of my creators of the thousands of other unification theories. So why don't you show me even some of those that have any of the details I've provided and that actually unify, that actually explain how gravity and magnetism and electricity and light are all connected. Why don't you show me that unification theory? Show it to me. Who also believe they make perfect sense. Well, whether they believe it or not, just show me one that actually does do what mine does, which gives you such a simple, I mean, I couldn't give you a simpler diagram of how magnets work. It works perfectly. The diagram for, Mach gravity is a beautiful explanation of gravity. I mean, a beautiful illustration of why there's an inverse square law. I mean, it makes it so obvious why it exists, what it's doing. A ray theory of light explains exactly why the inverse square law applies to sources of light. So why don't you show me the other theory that has anything like the quality of the one I've presented? Go ahead, show me. Show me the one you think is a challenge. Their theories must also be true. So again, why must they be true? They have glaring holes in them. They're mostly ether theories. So again, they're really not challenges to my theory. They're challenges to, other ether theories. But again, where I have actually played other people's theories, I play Wheeler's videos and point out how it's not even close to an explanation. There's not even a shred of evidence. There's not even pointing to any experimental consistencies. I'm sitting here and illustrating, pointing out exactly how the magnets move. Why? Why they move together? You can't see the distinction. It's because you don't want to see it, frankly. And if I put you to an honesty test, where maybe your favorite pet rock was, hanging, dangling over a pot of acid, and you had to actually tell the truth, maybe you'd acknowledge that truth. Because I don't think you believe that crap you just typed. They're not all the same, jackass. Evolution isn't just a religion. It's completely different. It actually explains why we have the features we have, why they're formed in the shape they are. It provides a perfectly rational reason, not some God creating it and saying, okay, I'll put anus right next to penis and blah, blah, blah. No, it's an explanation. Very different from the other nonsense theories of creation. He's such a cunt. Anyway, and you say modern physics is religion. Yes, in the sense that it's just dogmatic now, and it isn't evidence-based. They've completely jumped way past anything called evidence, and they just want to believe. Meanwhile, you continue to strawman. Strawman is playing their videos. So I've played Feynman videos, I've played the Lewin videos, I've played Susskind videos, I've played the documentary videos. I've begged for people to make videos. You want to challenge something I've said about physics and show some sort of physics truth, then please do so. And that's strawmanning. I've read your comments. I've gone to those links that you've provided and demonstrated why I think those are lame and silly arguments. And that's called strawmanning. I mean, I don't know what else exactly I was supposed to do to not be strawmanning. I mean, what else did what is missing from these 1,000 videos in terms of responding to your non-existent counter arguments? What exactly else am I supposed to do? It's strawmanning for me to explain, well, look, bent space really isn't bent space, okay? The little bent fabric thing is just a nice little gimmick. But when they really teach the subject, they have to do it in 3 dimensions. So they sort of have to explain why there's a anti divergence. That's what they call it, an anti-divergence. That is, there's a convergence of space. It's not bent, it's converging on every single material object in the universe. So instead of a force converging on it, it is pulling, something that doesn't exist. Right. The push explanation is the irrational one, the thing that we can see all over the place. No, we have to cling to our pull idea, even though it makes no sense because there's not a single thing in the universe that could be actually described as a pull, except for the invisible ones where we can't see, where you say the pull exists. So pull doesn't exist anywhere in the big universe, just exists in where we need it, a little magic place. Right, I'm straw manning. All right, you continue to straw man establishment theories with actual real world evidence. Meanwhile, maybe this was written poorly. Meanwhile, you continue to straw man establishment theories with actual real world evidence. Okay, so he's saying their theories have actual real world evidence. I've been seeking the evidence. Okay, the Eddington experiment. Do you think that's evidence? That's real world evidence. You think Huygens is real world evidence. I mean, yes, it creates two waves here and it only creates one wave here. That's okay. That's a principle. That's real world evidence. The galactic lensing images that only seems to do one thing, create Einstein rings, and it doesn't seem to do anything else. Nothing else. Einstein rings are nothing. That makes sense. That's hard evidence. Real world evidence is when something does something one time and every other thing it's supposed to do, it never does. That kind of inconsistency is what you call real world evidence. Let's just decide that photons break the inverse square law, and all of a sudden every mass in the universe is doubled when a photon goes by. There's real world evidence of that. No, there isn't. All right. And structural models. You don't have a structural model. That's the whole point. What are you talking about? Where's your structural model for spooky action? You have no structural model. Where's your structural model for the virtual photon? And how does the virtual photon even work? They say magnetism is caused by virtual photons, and yet they don't even explain how they could possibly work. They don't have any charge. They haven't figured this out. Okay, they haven't figured this out yet, so they can't say, "Oh yeah, virtual photons." See, it makes sense if they said virtual photons and they explained how the magnet was a filter and it filtered the virtual photons. They don't even do that because they don't understand that the force is charged. So they don't understand that that's where charge originates, with the force. They just say, yeah, somehow the virtual photons convey to the other magnet, attract or repel. Well, yeah, the virtual photon doesn't, we have no explanation for how the virtual photon knows to tell the magnet, you're supposed to attract this time, or you're supposed to repel this time. But somehow the virtual photon knows how to convey that information, even though there's no, like I said, they don't have any drawings like this, shithead. Where's their, you just sit there, they give us models. There's no model for magnetism. And their model for gravity is water converging forever from the magical forever source. And we will forever go down the forever drain. And the drain can be as deep as we want to make it, as big as we want to make it. We can make a gigantic drain in a tiny space and make our magical super 4 million billion solar mass black holes. And then we can collide them, and we can, with no model, absolutely no model, we'll convert the mass into the divergence space. Somehow we'll just make everything else in the universe, the drains, bigger. So we'll take the mass of two suns over, two black holes. We'll take a bunch of their mass, and magically make their mass make the drain holes inside of every little atom in the universe a little bit bigger. Yeah. Yeah, you're a fair cop. Sure you are. Science is great. Science, what was it? Creators. Who believe in, let's see, this could take a long time. What the hell happened here? Where the hell was I? How charming and wonderfully circle. So, what great evidence. Makes sense to me. Listen, okay, so that's the stupid quote. Excuse me while I go talk to any one of the creators of the thousands of other unification theories. Oh, yeah, we already did that. Their theories must be true, I guess. No. All right, modern science has risen. Meanwhile, you continue to straw man establishment theories with actual real-world evidence. And so I've just pointed out there's no real-world evidence. And structural models. They have no structural model. None. Zero. Doesn't exist. No structural model. Where's the structural model for how dark matter gets on the outside of the galaxies? Where's the structural model for any of that crap? All right. To which we can derive highly accurate predictions. So that's the whole point. They're not highly accurate. And we. So who's the we? I mean, are you a part of this? You know, what do you mean we can? What we? So you think predicting that you can convert matter into bent space, you think you've proven that nonsense. When I didn't even hear anyone predict that. Certainly Einstein didn't predict it. But I mean, I can go down your list of predictions and I'll say, show me your prediction. Show me where you predicted something. All you have is formulas that you've engineered to describe effects. You haven't touched predicting or explaining cause or modeling cause. You haven't done it. So again, you have no model. Maxwell's equations is not a model. Doesn't explain cause at all, doesn't explain function at all, just explains effects. So more nonsense. Which we have derived highly accurate predictions. So again, no such thing has happened. To confirm nothing, they match. So again, where is that? Where is the model confirmed? Where's your model of the virtual photon that you can't even identify how it functions? Where have you confirmed its existence or confirmed that your model is too empty to even be confirmed? I mean, there's no mechanism. There's no source of energy. You have no source of energy for either gravity or magnetism. You just say it magically makes the energy. It magically moves. Nothing has to push it. It does it. No rockets required, no motor, no gasoline, no batteries, no nothing. Things just move because they move. That's your model. And you have the arrogance to sit there and say something as silly as this, that you have some highly accurate anything. How is that highly accurate? It just moves. That's highly accurate? Yeah, no, I don't think so. They match reality. Well, as I've pointed out over and over again, they don't match reality. The photon pattern doesn't do what it's supposed to do, which is gradually go on and off. The two-slit math isn't predicting the bars and the two patterns. You're not dealing with that at all, and certainly Huygens isn't dealing with it at all. So you're just full of crap. Your predictions don't match. They're just gross generalizations. You have a formula that's good enough, close enough, but it's not right, and it's not premised right. So it's like getting the right answer for the wrong reason, like Feynman would say. Is that what you're supposed to do? Just get the right answer. Don't give a shit whether it's the wrong reason. Come on. I think little kids can know that that's not anything close to highly accurate a way of thinking. All right, okay, so more claims. They'll be provided no evidence of this perfect predictions, no evidence of this hard evidence for any of this stuff. None. Just claims. Okay, fact of the matter is, even if any of these other theories had had only had one tiny bit of real world observation to back them up. So again, I'm not here to defend other people's theories. I'm here to defend my theory. All right. Darwin didn't have to defend all the other religions that existed or all the other notions of how the universe worked. All he had to do was defend what he observed and what he concluded based on those observations. That's all I have to do, is defend this model, defend how it unifies physics and explains nuclear functions, and explains gravity, and explains magnetism, and explains velocities, and explains momentums, and explains time dilation, and explains everything that we see. That's my obligation, is to defend my theory, not everybody else's theory, not anybody else's theory. So again, this slandering me with the failures of other humans, the Wright brothers didn't have to defend all the other wackos who jumped off cliffs the wrong way. That's not their obligation. Their obligation is to show, look, my airplane flies. Okay. I mean, talk about a straw man. How the fuck? What is that but a straw man? What do other people's theories have to do with me? What do the existence of religious kooks have to do with me? So you're just saying every time there's a scientific theory, I can just say, well, what about all those religious theories? You haven't proven any of those wrong. That's not their obligation. I've demonstrated why my theory fits. That's my obligation. You're saying somehow, no, it doesn't fit better. It doesn't provide a better explanation, a simpler mechanical mechanism that unifies physics. Well, point out how it doesn't do that. Point out how the mechanism isn't simple, or how it doesn't actually do what I pointed out, which is match the experimental evidence. That was my claim. I said to you, if you say it doesn't match the evidence, then show me the piece of evidence it doesn't match. Show me the piece of evidence where this theory will not provide a perfectly adequate explanation for what is observed. Show me. All right. Accurate confirm that they match reality. No, the fact that didn't happen. Let's see. Any of these other theories had they'd be more valid than yours. Okay. How so? How would they be more valid? So Ken Wheeler's theory of whatever it is, magical perturbations through whatever counter space, is intrinsically more valid because the photon isn't a real thing, and yeah, we all wanted that universe. You know, we like universes where non-real things happen in some sort of real medium. So we have a bunch of non-reals in a bunch of, you know, medium. For some reason, you think that's more plausible. I find it completely incomprehensible as a reality. The soup came first, the croutons second. Whatever. I don't think the universe is soup. Anyway, you know, whatever. I mean, it's just, you know, fanatics. Anyway, back them up. Okay, be more valid than mine. Again, so there'll be no evidence of what makes mine invalid. No evidence of how it has a huge deficiency. Okay, now I've pointed out the deficiency in their theory. Virtual photon, magic space, magic communication between particles. You know, but he hasn't given me any evidence of what exactly is so glaringly, obviously missing from my theory. All right. Which has absolutely none. So again, my theory doesn't match the truth, doesn't match the evidence. So there's no real world observations that exactly match what this explains. So he's saying magnets don't really attract and repel. He's saying that Maxwell's equations don't describe exactly this proportional relationship by the inverse square law. That isn't exactly what Maxwell's equations say, that this fits exactly. He's saying that's not true. But he's just saying it. He's not explaining how this doesn't do exactly what we observe. He's not explaining how this charge explanation isn't exactly how charge works. it fits exactly how charge works. It fits exactly how electrons and protons interact with each other. It explains the pressure mediation. Ken Wheeler might use those words. It shows exactly how the pressure is mediated. And yet he says this mush where he just says, no, it doesn't. Even though I've drawn you the pictures of how it does, and I've pointed to the evidence and pointed to the experiments that demonstrate it, yet it doesn't explain it. Of course it does. So I can't do anything with that argument. You're just saying, I ain't related to no Minky. So in spite of the DNA evidence, despite of the cosmetic evidence, you're just going to say, I ain't. You're just going to ignore the evidence. That's all you're saying. I don't have to pay any attention to the evidence. I'll just pretend it doesn't exist. I'll just assert that it doesn't exist when clearly it does. I could show you two magnets. I can show you gravity happening. Look at this. There's gravity. See, the force going this way is balanced, so nothing moves this way. But the force this way, it's unbalanced. And guess what it's unbalanced by? Well, the other bottom half of the Earth, the Earth is round. Well, the other bottom half of the Earth is absorbing a bunch of momentum. There's a bunch of stuff it's pushing towards the center. And as it's pushing towards the center, it's absorbing energy to do that. And so that energy never gets to me, you see. But the energy pushing me down still is hitting me down. So I have an imbalance between the energy equation. There's more energy pushing me down, little bits, and less coming up from the bottom because all the people on the bottom half of the Earth are all pushing towards me and they're using up energy to do that. That doesn't explain it? Oh, I think it does. I think it perfectly explains this phenomenon. So, all right. I think those observations back up our evidence. They perfectly match the theory. Okay. All right. Which has absolutely none. Well, as I just pointed out, none except it fits all the evidence. Okay. Wait, I'm sorry. I forgot that it feels good. So he has this in quotes again. It feels good and makes sense to Inmendum. So I don't know who Inmendum is, but really doesn't have anything to do with this channel, but whatever, fine. Yeah. So again, I didn't say it feels good. It does feel good to get answers, so don't get me wrong. I felt pretty good when I discovered all this shit and said, wow, eureka, that's a good feeling. This is a very bad feeling, to have to deal with these fucking obstinate retards who have no argument, no evidence. They're just faith believers. They'll just keep saying, but God is real, but God is real. Is the real deciding factor here. Okay, so again, this is just more incredibly useless rhetoric. I'll just talk about pocket pouches. You're all got a little horny for pocket pouch people. Little phantasmagorical, personality bizarros. And you're saying the religion they came up while they're sitting there alone in their room, sharpening their pencils, is reality. Whatever. It's a real deciding factor here, and is what all physicists should be using to determine what is true. So I can't do it none of that's on the web page. None of that was in the video you first commented on here with your ridicule, right? It's a 17-minute video that basically defends everything on this piece of paper, which is from nuclear physics to cosmic physics. And yet, you pretend that that's not what was presented, was a rational argument, a detailing of the exact way it matches what we see in the world. And it gives you a much better explanation than endless anti-divergences in space we won't call what it really is, which is ether. We all ought to get used to it, okay? They're saying there's an ether, get it? Space is, they're just using a lie word. I mean, space is a lie word. It doesn't mean what it used to mean, like the black empty stuff between things. No, it's not space, it's ether. Conventional physics is an ether theory. I mean, shit. Obviously. All right. Factor here and is what all physicists should be using to determine what is true. Now, what they should be using is evidence, and they should recognize the inconsistencies of their principles. Okay, their Heisenberg principle, their Huygens principle, their entanglement, all of the theory around entanglement, such thin evidence, they should be able to recognize, and it creates paradoxes and you know, that don't make any sense. Oh yes, there's faster than light communication between particles, but somehow we can't detect it. Yeah, it's catch-22, you know what I mean? Yeah, sure. Special rules. There's always special rules. Your theory is full of special. Okay. So, Daddy, what was physics like before Inmendum? So that's in quotes for some dopey reason. Again, why don't you just say, I'm using as a rhetorical tool fake people who don't exist to make fake comments. All right. Let me tell you, son, it was a nightmare. So this is his little story of some kind. We had to follow the scientific method. So as I've pointed out, they haven't repeated any of these experiments. The Eddington experiment never successfully performed in the history of mankind because, frankly, it's crap. And anybody who's a serious scientist should know it's crap. Really can't be done. If you even go by, even with Einstein's cheat, it's still a very difficult experiment to do with anything but a very large telescope, or the Hubble telescope, for example. But that hasn't done it. All right. You know, we have a NASA scientist, you know, you can quote him too, saying that NASA's never observed lensing outside of the corona of the sun, the lamb of the sun. Never have. Yeah. They've only observed it where the scatter happens. Yeah. So the only place we see lensing is in the scatter range. Oh, no surprise there. So anyway, so that's what they call the scientific method. They don't repeat experiments. The Allen Aspect experiment, whoever redid that again, because he had his patented spinning mirror. So nobody else could do the experiment because he had a patented spinning mirror. He wouldn't let anybody else have it unless they paid him big money. That's great science. Yeah. Ooh. Yeah, fantastic. No, that sucks. And again, all the inconsistencies, all the glaring examples of where the theory doesn't match the evidence. There's a contradiction. All the places we should be seeing lensing, and it's not there. We claim there's a big, huge pile of gravity. That's obvious. Look at the stuff moving around. Look at the way it's moving. It must be. No lensing. How come? All right. So they think they've followed the scientific method. So again, jumping the evidence is now the scientific method. That's all you can say, right? Because they have no hard evidence for the things they've drawn as conclusions, and they've built whole structures of science based on them. We're now to do cosmological theorizing, you have to accept the existence of dark matter. You have to accept the theory that most of the universe is made of something called non-matter, that most of the mass in the universe isn't really matter mass. It's some sort of other kind of mass, magic mass. He's saying that's good science. That's the scientific method. Take zero evidence and turn it into a theory. Because that's what they have, zero evidence. Just that they have zero evidence that photons going through a slit turn into an infinite number of little wavelets. And that infinite number, they all cancel out and only two waves are left behind. They have no evidence that happens. All right, anyway. Gather data, make predictions. So again, they don't make predictions. That's just a lie. They watch something happen. They watch flipping heads or tails. They watch glass reflect light at different ways. And then they write, an equation predicting it. So this is just more lies about how it works or what science is actually doing. This doesn't happen. They don't make any predictions. That's a lie. Okay, a gross lie. Unless you're saying they predicted gravitational waves based on a theory where they say it's Einstein's theory, yet Einstein never said you can convert mass into bent space, non-energy, bent space. Where was that prediction made before the magical discovery? Except in the brains of the idiots who made the claim we've done it. Besides the people saying we've done it, who made that prediction? That's right, nobody. That's good science. Amazing. And discard what doesn't match. So again, they don't discard what doesn't match. Lensing theory doesn't match the evidence. I'm sorry, it really doesn't match what we see in the cosmos. Doesn't match. The idea of dark matter doesn't match because we can't find any of it in any local environment whatsoever. There's no evidence that it's affecting a single thing happening. You know, I mean, Einstein went to the trouble to make these complex, detailed field equations to explain how Mercury's a little bit off. Well, if there's dark matter, why wouldn't that screw up the equation? Huh? Oh, fuck that. That's an unimportant detail. I mean, amazing. And discard what doesn't match observation. Just amazing. No, there's no discarding anything that doesn't match observation or creates a paradox. You can't even explain to me where in this magical interferometer, the magical interferometer, interferometer. You can't even explain to me where this particle interference takes place. Where do the photons turn into wavicles? And where do they do their little interfering thing? Where does all that fucking crap happen? You have no model for how the light travels through your experiment. And yet you say your science has integrity. I mean, please. Just disgusting. All right. Let's see, confirms results. Okay, and peer review to confirm results. So again, once again, never done. Einstein proven right. The experiment never redone successfully. Never. 100 years, perfect conditions. Who cares? We don't have to prove it. Yeah. It's proven by the fact that you've all accepted. They don't have to prove it because you all fell for it. Just like the religions don't have to prove anything. They just indoctrinate the children and say, this is the reality, and they all fall for it. And you're saying that somehow science is doing something different. No, you just take the students, you mold them, you say, don't pay attention, it doesn't make sense. Don't pay, no, it's supposed to not make sense. That's the fun of it. Yeah, it's all mysterious and weird and funky. Yeah, that's the way it's supposed to be. It's not supposed to make sense. Making sense is for losers. I mean, it's cliche religion, cliche brainwashing. All right. Sometimes we had problems and that stumped us for decades. Well, that would be a change, wouldn't it? I guess one of the problems is your theories are incompatible. And as I pointed out, there is a completely compatible alternative where there's only one physics. There's one universe, as I've pointed out numerous times in videos. I'll predict it for you. There's one universe. And guess what? It's the small one. Yeah, that's the only one that exists. Idiots. All right. Sometimes we had problems that stumped us for decades, period. That doesn't make any sense. That all changed after Inmendham creates his draft physics channel. Well, the fact is that things do change. Evolution changed the world, in a sense. Changed it for anybody with any reasoning skills. Provided a very lucid and nice drawing of how it works, you know, and how we got here. and what's happening on Earth, and explain time and geology, and was and so it's just a description, a discovery. I didn't make this up. I'm just saying that when you take what's happening in the world, and all you have to do, again, it wasn't all that much, right? First, all you have to do is say pull doesn't make much sense. So and you say, well, these photon things are moving the same speed as the gravity things and the magnet things. Why don't you just start thinking about, well, what if gravity was a kind of photon? And then you start thinking about it and say, oh, yeah, that fits perfectly, because it's like the opposite of a light bulb. Instead of everything going out, everything's just going in by the same process. Wow, that certainly makes sense. So you do a little bit of that. And then you realize, well, if I just give the force, those graviton things, if I just make two kinds, it completely explains how charge works and why charges move the way they do. And it explains the filter that is magnetism. But no, let's not discover anything. Let's not change anything, Let's just stay religious. Okay. What an asshole. All right, let's see. I'll see if there's any assholes in the current comment section. No doubt. Let's see. I think MMA, I don't know, athletes are superior to all other sports athletes. Okay, so I can get rid of all of these comments all at once. Cool. Oh man, where did these retards come from? What do you I mean, they just demonstrate how bad humans are and how stupid they are, and they'll fall for anything, they'll say anything. They're just so goddamn dumb. All right, so let's see if there was anybody else in here worthy of 10 seconds of my time. Hello, that's waste. It's hard to follow you because your criticism is all in video with no math. I'm not disputing any of the math. Again, what math do you want to see? You want me to actually show you Maxwell's equations, and that this completely matches Maxwell's equations? I mean, really, what math do you want to see? You want to see the inverse square law that's all over this? What math do you want to see, retard? I'm not making new math. Formalizing what are the effects is not what I'm doing. I'm explaining the causes, fucktard. It's just wasted words. You're just too fucking stupid to know the difference between causes and effects. You argue interpretation. No, sorry, that's not what I'm doing with interpretation and not data. What data? Again, I've argued the data. I've played the videos. I've shown examples. Again, this is exactly matches the data, asshole. My explanation of gravity, as I just gave it, exactly matches the data, asshole. You don't even discuss papers. I've read them in videos. So again, another lie. God damn. Maybe the universe isn't as neat as you want it to be. So there it is. It's just, no, it's not as sloppy as you want it to be. Period. Fuck you. I mean, I have made arguments and arguments and arguments. I've made the question videos. I asked them directly, why is your theory right when it has these paradoxes in it? The lens is the wrong fucking shape. Simple things, and you have no response to any of those critiques. Off topic, but really appreciate the 20-minute overview video of everything you put up. Yes, exactly. That's right. Perfectly sensible video. And I'm getting the typical retarded response. And again, nothing in that video critiquing conventional physics. Just an explanation of this better theory and a plea to make a rational critique. If you have a critique, if you have some explanation of why this can't be the truth, then provide me a fucking link to it. provide me a link to the mathematics or the fucking experiment in some way this is inconsistent with. Because I don't see it anywhere in the universe. You fucking liars. Okay. All right, continuing. Well, we found that in Mendham's brain, so this is just more useless waste of time. The theory is presented in the 17-minute video. You're not obviously have no interest in arguing any of the points made in the video. You're just going to argue within Mendham's personality and waste everyone's time, including mine. Fine, asswipe. Is that part of the scientific method? Oh, forget about the argument that was made. Let's talk about our pocket pouches and who has the prettiest one. It must be entangled. The photons must know what each other is doing because they're acting just like right and left-handed gloves. And we all know that right hand and left-handed gloves always know what each other is doing. Great sign. Well, we found out that in Mendham's brain and intuition, so again, nothing to do with intuition. I mean, 7 years of work, basically going through all the experiments, watching hundreds of physics lectures to see what the truth is, to see what the experimental data says, and seeing how this might fit. Yeah. 7 years of work, not intuition, work is actually the most accurate gauge of how the universe works. So again, it's been documented in these videos. The work I have done. The evolution of the entire concept and idea is here, evidenced. And yet you make this idiotic accusation that somehow I just said some 4-letter word and, oh, eureka, that's the whole theory. No effort required. I didn't have to explain anything or go through all of this bullshit. Yeah, I did. And I did it. I accomplished that task. Better than reality itself. So again, no, it's just better than made up stuff that you have. Huygens, Heisenberg, bent space, entanglement, dark matter, dark energy. Yeah, it's better than that crap. In fact, reality and observational data no longer matter at all. So again, a completely insane statement in the sense that you're the ones who have no interest in matching reality. You say time dilation happens on this curve, but light getting bent, headlight effect, no, that happens on this curve. So one thing happens this way and the other thing happens this way. But if somebody brought up the subject of drag when it comes to, Mach gravity, no, drag must happen this way. It couldn't possibly happen on a Lorentz curve. No, that's not possible. I mean, you're so duplicitously hypocritical. Oh, amazing. In fact, reality and observation data have no longer matter at all. Again, it has nothing to do with anything I'm claiming. I'm claiming it matters incredibly. I'm saying, show me the evidence. Show me the Eddington experiment done well. Show it me. Show me. You don't do that. All right, if we have a problem, we just ask and mend them. So again, that's not the statement being made here. So just more lies. What he feels is the correct answer. So again, more crap about it. I'm not explaining my feelings. I'm explaining how charge, why there is such a thing. I'm explaining that electrons and protons are the elusive, what science has been searching for, the monopole. There's no magnetic monopoles. Yeah, they are. They're right there in front of you, called electrons and protons. Why don't you refute that point? Why don't you explain how electrons and protons are not magnetic monopoles? Why don't you explain how an electron is not a monopole of magnetism? Why don't you explain that? Where's the evidence that that can't be? Let's see. Menifield's blah, blah, blah. And by Goofy. And by golly. Ooh, golly. It's a creepy word. That must be it. So again, more nonsense. Remember, son, math is for fucktards. So again, I've never said anything like that. I've never said there's something bad about math. I've said it's not a model. It's certainly not a model of causes. So again, you're and the math you have, right, is completely dependent on the assumptions going in. Heisenberg, Huygens. You have no math without it. I mean, you have no way to connect your math to reality without it. None. Within Mendham's intuition, so more nonsense. Like this is again intuitive. I mean, the fact that retarded answers, I intuitively know when something is a retarded answer. Okay, like somebody comes up to me and says, hurry, give me $1,000. There's a 4 million foot banana peel chasing me. Yes, my intuition will say this probably isn't true. So yes, I had some intuition about the fact that photons aren't doing this and doing this and doing all this crap. Yes, I had some intuition that that sounds a little too complicated for the simplest thing in the universe. Why would the simplest thing in the universe that does the dumbest thing possible, which is just travel in a straight line at a constant speed, I mean, that's all it does, straight line at a constant speed. Why would that need to be doing all of this crap? Why would the simplest thing in the universe have to be way complicated? Why couldn't it just go straight? Like it looks like it does. Why couldn't it do exactly what it looks like it does? Why does it have to do all this other crap for which there's no evidence it does, right? There's no, can't bend a photon with magnetism, can't bend it with electricity. What the fuck are we talking about then? Oh yeah, bullshit, that's right, that you made up and that you say you have evidence of it, but there's no evidence. We abolish all physics institutions, some more crap in colleges. I'm just saying, because again, I've played the college lectures. All right. And I think it's great to show the experiments, do the experiments. But again, we're going to always have to argue about what happens on this little tiny level because you can't play the videotape. You can't just sprinkle some iron filings on the universe and see it all happening. Some parts of it aren't going to get revealed that way. And that's what's being argued about. And you're pretending that I want to argue in some other way, but based on the evidence. No, I want to argue the evidence. And I've pointed out the evidence is weak or non-existent. That's the only kind of evidence you have for anything you assert. It's either incredibly weak or it doesn't exist at all, like dark matter. All right. Physics institutions and colleges in place of the golden throne. You don't need to play this game of where I live and all this shit. Why is all that crap added here? Why? Why? Well, where is it in any of the videos on this channel? Is that relevant? That just seems like something a petty troll would do. Is that what's the scientific method? Let's point out if he's gay. Let's point out if, like, 20 years ago he got arrested for shoplifting. Is that the scientific method? We'll just bring up all kinds of personal crap, you know, specific to individuals. We'll shoot the messenger, not the message. We'll attack the messenger. I mean, it really doesn't matter to me. Obviously, I just, you know, my other channel is called In Mendham. I mean, it really doesn't bother me. It just bothers me that people have to play with that. Why would somebody have to play with that? The only time I would find that useful if I was commenting is if I wanted to somehow make somebody uncomfortable. If I wanted to make them feel like somehow I have strings I can pull or I can play with their real identity. Why would you do that on the internet? Especially when you're disguising yourself as an anonymous troll. We have a fake name and fake icons and fake everything. Here you are, a troll hiding from the public, and yet you'll decide to point out where other people live. What, you aren't revealing something about your character, asshole? So somebody give me an explanation. Why would this be necessary as part of an argument to demonstrate how I'm wrong or ill-qualified in some substantial way to play with something completely not related to the channel, that in no way is ever part of the channel at all, my personal life. None of your business whatsoever. Why are you making it this channel's business? Except a malicious purpose. Because you're petty and you're a loser. And you're so resentful. You're burning up with your resentfulness. That's the only reason somebody would do that. Where we gather around and listen to the masters speak for hours on end. So again, apparently you are compelled to listen for some reason. Not debunk anything I say, okay, but for some reason, I bother you. Yeah. Civilization is collapsing around us, says another quote. And technological advancement is going backward. None of these things that I say, but that's actually a good thing. So more wrong quotes. We're all worthless parasitic slaves to the DNA molecule anyway, not part of the 17-minute video, not part of this physics channel at all, just more nonsense. And Amendum has decreed that all, so I guess if I want to defeat Lawrence Krauss's physics arguments, I just point out how he's a misogynist, and that he gropes little girls, much younger women. And then I win. He's an idiot. I've proven his theory wrong. Is that it? Amazing. I'm not going to bother with the rest of that. Let's see if it gets anywhere close to making an all real argument somewhere. Edit. Oh, too bad. I didn't get the original. Oh, yeah, you can delete this comment. No, I'm going to block you and delete it, of course. Yes. But I read it. Okay? I looked for it sincerely. I looked in here for a real argument, defeating anything I've proposed, explaining how any of it's inconsistent with real evidence, how anything I said was wrong. And there's no evidence. You didn't demonstrate how a single sentence in my video was wrong. Yeah. Okay. Just like you delete the last comment. Yes, after I read it. I gave you your chance. You were rude and obnoxious, and I deleted it. Because I don't have to accept that. There was nothing in my 17-minute video that said how small your penis is and that you're a terrible human being, a despicable loser who cheats and keys people's cars and, takes the air out of their tires because you're a little loser, a little weasel who can't play an upright game. Right? I didn't say any of that shit in the video, did I? Oh, no, I didn't. Yeah, fuck you. Oh, God, people are such pieces of shit. Just prove my point, like I said. Just proves my point. Humans are below the dignity of fucking microbes. Just like you deleted the last comment, which was nothing more than a reasonable request. There was nothing reasonable in it. I read the comment. It was complete crap. There's no reasonable request anywhere. Just like you delete other comments in the patch which did exactly what you claimed to want. No, you didn't. Pointing out holes in your ideas. No, I'm just saying they're all public videos. I haven't deleted a single sentence or a single paragraph or a single anything in any of the videos I've made. So again, I've pleaded with you trolls, quote me the great argument one of you has made. So over all the 7 years, do you have one paragraph of brilliant counter argument that any of you assholes have provided that has something other than to just lie, to say something stupid like, you don't have any math, when no, I have all the same math you have. The math created by a whole bunch of people in history. The math created by Newton. The math created by Maxwell. You're using all these dead people math. Where's your new math? So should I do that? Should I say, where's your math that wasn't written by somebody else? I don't need any math. I don't need to explain the effects. I'm explaining the causes, shithead. You really just don't get the program here at all, do you? Okay. Pointing out holes in your ideas, no, and providing evidence of other theories. And again, I've gone to the pages, I've argued them. That's all. Look, if you think there's something more that can be done by two people who disagree, except to make arguments, point to what they say has been proven. I mean, all I can do is point to the fact you assert certain things to be true, that the mass of every object in the universe gets twice as heavy when a photon goes by. All right, that's your assertion. I say there's absolutely no evidence that happens anywhere. None. You haven't any evidence. You say, look at this galactic image picture. Well, I say, well, you look at it. I mean, how do you explain why none of these other objects are being lensed in your lens? If your lens exists, it has to warp light from all kinds of sources. Well, where is all that light? Why don't I see any of those distortions in your lens? Why do I only see one particular kind of distortion and no other? Why is that how your lens works? And why is it the wrong shape? You know, how do you explain how the wrong shaped lens does all that crap? That's all I can do is argue. You know, I can't make you reasonable. I think you're completely unreasonable not to recognize that your evidence is insanely weak. Not just weak, but insanely weak for the aggressiveness of your assertions. You tell me I must believe in a bent medium that is converging into every single material bit in the universe is eating this ether. I must believe because there's a pile of evidence. Where's your pile of evidence that that's how it works? Anyway, providing evidence of other theories that you, of course, always deny unless it supports your theory as well. So again, I don't understand. I play other people's theories. I showed them. I argue with them. I did the Ken Yee guy, you know, the dissident science guy. I have a couple other channels. You see them in my subscriptions. I go to the whatever he calls himself, reality science or whatever the fuck the who hasn't been making any videos. I hope he's okay. And I point out why, yeah, rope theory doesn't make any sense at all to me. Every single thing is got a rope tied to every other single thing in the universe. Now that doesn't make any sense. Why would we bother posting anything serious? Well, again, I'm just saying the serious part would be explain why you're claiming it's perfect math when it doesn't match perfectly, when the expectations of the math are not revealed in the experimental evidence. That would be your job. Why don't you just explain why it's unimportant to duplicate the Eddington experiment, why it just doesn't, it's not important at this point at all. You delete and block anything that isn't blind praise to you. Again, just a lie. I'm just saying, I have no obligation to accept rudeness. The 17-minute video was not rude to science or anybody else. It was an explanation of my theory. You don't have a right to post rude comments to that. You either post a counter argument linked to some better evidence, or you shut the fuck up. Okay, and simply will deny or distort anything that doesn't match your theory 100%. That's just, so it's just a grotesque lie. I sit here and read your bullshit. There is no counter argument. You will never cite any real evidence. So you're lying. That's all you are. You're just a liar. The Mendham said, let there be unification theory. Let there be a unification theory. Oh, so now he's claiming that somehow I'm inventing the idea that unification would be incredibly important. So Einstein went to his grave thinking it was incredibly important. But yeah, Einstein was wrong about that, and he's wrong about everything else then apparently too. But you still believe all that other crap he invented. All right. And he drew the theory, and it was good. So, and again, and it was a good theory. That's right. And evolution's a good theory. And I say this is the evolution version of physics. Now, why don't you explain how your entanglement theory with no evidence and your Huygens theory and your Heisenberg theory and your bent space theory and your time dimension theory, how that's solid, like evolution, based on real evidence. So why don't you point to the real evidence? Why don't you explain how your virtual photon makes magnets move towards or away from each other? Why don't you explain how it does that? Where's the energy come from? The holy test, the holy video. So again, it's exactly the opposite argument being made here. All I can do is argue the evidence and argue how the theory fits the evidence. I can tell you there's a thing called gravity, okay? Provides a tremendous amount of energy on objects, that it's creating so much pressure that the center of the earth is molten because of the amount of pressure it's causing. And I can say, I can explain why that is that way. And it's not because ether did it, okay? It's because a real energetic thing, moving the speed of light, did it. Okay. Even reality itself must bow down before it, whatever. None of that's happening here. Don't believe, question mark. So again, I'm supposed to believe. Photons do this. Entanglement. They read each other's minds at supersonic speed, at superluminal speeds. You know, we could just go through. The dark matter just happens to fly on the outside of galaxies, you know, but doesn't show up anywhere else. You know, that time is a dimension, even though it's just a function. But somehow I can bend the dimension. I'm supposed to believe that with nothing, because you say so. I mean, could I have your name so I could just do this? I could write this paragraph just using your name because you say so. What confirmed predictions and observational data? Well, I've predicted that photons, that mass of suns doesn't double because a photon went by. So I'll predict that that's true. Okay. Photons are not affected by gravity. That's my prediction. They'll never have real evidence of that ever happening. That all you can do is scatter a photon. You can't bend it with a force. Can't that be done? That's why it doesn't bend in gravity. One of the things it's supposed to be made out of. I mean, in magnetism. One of the things it's supposed to have a whole field of, and yet magnets can't bend photons. So that data. The papers are the videos and the paper I've written. Obviously, this peer review thing isn't going to happen, because they're obviously, the person who reads the peer review isn't a scientist. He's a retard. Okay, so you can't get through to a scientist. That's why I've suggested bribing them. I've suggested that if I can collect the money, more money. I've already put up big challenges, right? I've offered $5,000 to a talking head of physics to spend 3 hours understanding my theory and compiling an argument. $5,000, I mean, for 3 hours work. So I'm all interested in this peer review. You just show me how I get it. Show me. Show me where I get the opportunity. Show me where I could even buy it. I'll buy peer review. I'll buy it. I'll pay for it. I defy you to provide it. This is your peer review. This is all you have. Is slanders, lies, crap rhetoric. You don't make any arguments here. Zero. You don't cite any evidence here. Zero. You don't provide a single answer to the questions I've asked. Zero. You don't point out why the contradictions I point out that exist, why that's acceptable. Why is it okay that your theory has these huge contradictions in it? These paradoxes. No explanation. Why does the headlight effect happen without a Lorentz contraction, but time dilation does? Peer review or length contraction. Length contraction, Lorentz. Yeah, you have little faith and he shall smite the disbeliever. So again, it's not about smiting anybody. I have no interest in that, but I'm not going to be slandered. You sit here and lie about what I've said, lie about my arguments, and I'm supposed to say, that's okay, go ahead, be a liar on my channel. No, Fuck you. My 17-minute video didn't say a damn thing about your skanky, scuzzy foreskin or your tiny dick. It didn't say a single thing about that. You have no right to be rude to me. None. Zero. Fuck you. Yeah, that was needed to be done. I hope like don't like you video. I hope like don't like you video. Oh, it's one of those people. Yes. Islam. Sorry. Fuck off. Let's see. Yes, that's all. I could update, see if there's any new comments, but there really shouldn't be. Or there isn't. All right. I'll give you 30 seconds if you have something else to say. Anybody has anything rational to say? Yeah, post me to the link to the physics video, the lecture, the whatever, that you say really does explain it. Like I said, I've gone out and done it. I've found all kinds of videos that talk about this crap. I've played their video and pointed out how they just misdescribed the two-slit experiment. They don't have any evidence that that happened, and they have no evidence that that happens. They're just making this up. Oh, yeah, it goes half the speed of light. The light bends forward because it does. The rules. Forward bending. Well, why is it a rule? Let's say it is a rule. Why? How exactly does the mechanical process force that to happen? Get no explanation. So, till the next time and such. And so forth and whatnot. Oh, there I am. I guess I was missing. Not really about me. Anyway, till the next time.